The space station floated like a silver ring against the backdrop of endless stars. It was one of the few places in the galaxy where humans and aliens met, without fear of war or suspicion. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes walked through the polished corridors with a restless energy. He had been chosen as part of the human delegation, but he was not a diplomat or a politician. He was a soldier, and though he knew how to follow orders and wear a uniform with pride, he felt out of place among the calm voices and perfect manners of the envoys. The great hall of the station was filled with dozens of species, each one stranger than the last. Tall, thin beings with glass-like skin stood beside squat, scaled creatures who communicated in slow rumbles. Some floated in personal atmosphere spheres, others stood silent and watchful. Humanity was still new to this circle of civilizations, still learning how to fit in. Marcus noticed that many of the aliens watched humans with a mixture of curiosity and doubt, as if wondering how such a young species could hope to stand among them. That was when he saw her. She stood taller than most humans, her figure graceful yet strong. Her skin shimmered faintly under the station lights, as if layered with delicate silver patterns that shifted when she moved. Her dark eyes were deep and calm, holding an almost unearthly patience. She was young, by her people's standards, perhaps only beginning adulthood, and yet there was a quiet authority in the way she carried herself. Marcus realized she was not just another envoy. Whispers around the hall identified her as someone important, a daughter of the ruling family of her world. Marcus had been briefed that her species was highly formal, that every word spoken to them had to be precise and respectful. Humor especially was considered dangerous. They had no history of it, no place for laughter in their culture. The diplomats had been clear. Humans must behave with the highest caution, and yet, when Marcus found himself standing beside her, words slipped out of his mouth before he could stop them. "You know," he said, glancing at the strange silver patterns on her skin, "back on Earth we'd probably spend hours trying to figure out if that's a natural design or some kind of fancy body paint. Either way, I think you'd put every artist out of work." For a heartbeat, silence wrapped around them. Several nearby dignitaries froze. One of the human diplomats actually inhaled sharply, as if Marcus had just set fire to the treaty table. This was it, he thought. He had ruined everything. A soldier's careless joke at a royal alien's expense. He could already imagine the headlines. Peace talks collapse over human fool. But then something unexpected happened. The alien woman's eyes widened. Her lips parted slightly and a strange sound escaped her throat. At first Marcus thought she was choking, but then he realized she was laughing. It was soft at first, then louder, rising and falling in bright waves. She covered her mouth with her hand as if embarrassed by the sound, but she could not stop. Her shoulders trembled. Her eyes sparkled. Every creature in the hall turned to stare. Aliens who had never heard laughter before shifted uncomfortably. Even the other humans were stunned. For her people, laughter did not exist. No one had ever seen it. Yet here she was, laughing openly at a human's reckless comment. Marcus blinked in disbelief. Was it something I said?" he asked, half joking again. Her laughter grew even brighter. She steadied herself, drawing in a slow breath, and spoke in her melodic voice. "Your words, they were strange, unexpected. They made me feel something I did not know I could feel. My body trembled. My chest was light. What is this?" Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. "That's laughter. A reaction we humans have when we find something funny." "Funny," she repeated as if testing the word. "It is new to me. It is..." "Wonderful." Whispers raced across the hall. Some of the woman's attendants looked horrified, while others seemed fascinated. Marcus noticed several alien diplomats shifting in their seats, unsure how to respond. But the woman herself leaned closer to him, her expression glowing with excitement. "Tell me more," she said softly. "Say more things like that." Marcus was stunned. Here he was, a soldier who had stumbled into the middle of delicate negotiations, and instead of offending her, he had opened some kind of hidden door. She was looking at him with genuine curiosity, as if he had shown her a piece of the universe she had never known existed. In that moment, Marcus realized something important. Humans were often dismissed as reckless, emotional, and unrefined compared to the ancient civilizations around them. But perhaps those very traits, emotion, humor, unpredictability, were what made humanity special. And now, standing in front of an alien princess who had just laughed for the first time in her people's history, Marcus felt that this simple, unplanned moment might change everything. The hall did not return to calm after the alien woman's laughter. Instead, it became more tense, as if the sound had broken something fragile in the air. Attendants from her world hurried toward her, whispering warnings in their sharp language. Some of them glanced at Marcus with suspicion, as though he had performed a trick or cast a spell. Others seemed uneasy, shifting their eyes between the woman and the humans, unsure what to make of the strange event. Marcus stood still, trying to decide whether he should apologize or stay quiet. The human diplomats looked terrified. One of them, a thin man with silver hair, gave Marcus a hard glare, silently telling him to stop speaking at once. But the woman did not allow her attendants to pull her away. She lifted one hand, graceful and firm, and they froze in obedience. Her eyes remained on Marcus. "You said this is called laughter," she said softly, her voice carrying in the silence. "It feels like warmth rising from within me. My people do not know this. Why do humans have such a thing?" Marcus hesitated. He was not trained for this. He had no script to follow, no safe diplomatic phrases. Still, he answered honestly, "I guess it's because life can be hard. Laughter is how we remind ourselves that even when things go wrong, we can still find something bright. It's a release, a way to survive." The woman tilted her head as if trying to understand. "A way to survive," she repeated almost to herself. Her attendants shifted uneasily, but they dared not interrupt her. One of the alien council members, an elder draped in long ceremonial cloth, spoke with a voice like stone. "Princess Serenia, this is unwise. Humans spread disorder. They carry chaos in their ways. Their humor is a corruption. You must resist it." But Serenia did not turn to him. Her gaze stayed on Marcus. There was something alive in her expression now, something the others of her species seemed to lack. It was curiosity mixed with joy, a spark that could not be hidden. Later that evening, when the formal gathering was ended, Marcus found himself walking through the station's garden dome. He needed air, or at least the closest thing the station provided. The dome was filled with carefully arranged plants from a dozen worlds glowing faintly in the artificial light. He had just begun to relax when he heard footsteps behind him. It was her. Serenia walked with the same graceful strength as before, her silver patterns shifting like ripples in water. But now there was a quiet urgency in the way she approached him. She stopped only a few steps away, her eyes searching his face. "You must forgive me," she said. "I should not have laughed in the hall. My people will not forget it. They will question me, perhaps even try to silence me. But I cannot ignore what I felt. I need to understand it more." Marcus gave a small smile. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I was just trying to lighten the mood. But if it helped you in some way, I'm glad." "You must tell me more," she said firmly. "Teach me this thing called humor. I wish to feel it again. I wish to know how it works, how it changes the heart." Marcus chuckled softly. "Humor doesn't exactly have rules. Sometimes it's in words, sometimes in timing, sometimes just in how you look at something. But if you want to learn, I can try." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Do not speak of this to the others. If they knew I asked you, they would try to stop me. My people are taught from birth that order is the only way to survive. Expression, emotion, these things are considered dangerous. Yet when you spoke, when I laughed, I felt more alive than I ever have. It was as if I had been asleep all my life, and only now have I woken." Marcus listened carefully. He could see the seriousness in her eyes. This was more than simple curiosity. Something deep inside her had been stirred, and it frightened her as much as it excited her. "All right," he said at last. "I'll teach you. But you need to understand, humor isn't always safe. Sometimes it gets you into trouble. Sometimes people don't like it. But for us humans, that's part of its power. It shows we're not afraid to be different, not afraid to see the world in a way others don't." Her lips curved slightly, almost a smile. "Then I will learn to be unafraid." They walked together through the garden, and Marcus shared small jokes and stories. Some she did not understand at first, but when he explained, she would try to laugh again, each time a little stronger, a little freer. Her laughter echoed in the dome like music, strange but beautiful. But even as she laughed, Marcus noticed shadows moving at the edge of the garden. Her attendants were watching from a distance, their eyes sharp and filled with suspicion. It was clear they would not allow this to continue without question. Serenia noticed too. She lowered her voice once more. "I must go. Oh, before they report this. But remember, human, You have shown me something my people have never known, and I will not let it go." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Marcus standing among the alien flowers, wondering what kind of storm he had just unleashed. Marcus woke the next day to find the station buzzing with rumors. Everywhere he went, he caught fragments of conversation from humans and aliens alike. Some whispered about the strange sound that had come from Princess Serenia in the Great Hall. Others spoke of corruption, of dangerous human influence spreading where it did not belong. A few, however, spoke in hushed awe, as if what they had witnessed was the beginning of something new. For Marcus, the memory of her laughter still echoed in his head. It had not been forced or polite. It had been real, raw, and unrestrained.
He had never expected something so small, a simple joke, to cause such a storm.
Now he wondered what it meant for her, and for him. When he reached the human delegation's quarters, he was met with sharp eyes. Ambassador Clark, the senior diplomat, was waiting for him. The man's face was tight with anger and his voice was cold. "Lieutenant Hayes," Clark said, "do you have any idea what you've done? One reckless comment, and you may have jeopardized months of delicate work." Her people do not laugh. They do not smile. They do not bend the way you think humans do. Whatever you said has unsettled her entire court. Marcus held his ground. "With respect, sir, I didn't mean to cause trouble." But she wasn't offended. She asked me questions. She wanted to understand. "That is precisely the problem," Clark snapped. "Curiosity in her might seem harmless to you, but to her people it is dangerous. They will blame us for planting something disruptive in her mind, and if this turns into a political scandal, Earth will pay the price." Marcus wanted to argue, but he knew it would be useless. Clark had no patience for soldiers who thought they understood diplomacy. Still, deep down, Marcus could not regret what had happened. He had seen something awaken in Serenia, something human and alive, and he believed it mattered. Later, as he walked through the station's long glass corridor, he saw her again. Serenia moved with her usual grace, her attendants close behind. Their eyes were hard, but hers softened when she noticed Marcus. Without hesitation, she dismissed her guards with a sharp command. They obeyed, though reluctantly, leaving her alone with him. "You must forgive my sudden request yesterday," she said quietly. "I know I placed you in danger." Already whispers spread among the council. "They say you have infected me with chaos." Marcus gave a small smile. "I didn't mean to infect anyone. I was just being myself." "That is why I sought you out again," she said, her voice low but firm. "Yourself. Humans live in ways we do not. You carry emotions freely, as if they are not chains but wings. I wish to learn what that means. My people do not understand laughter, but when I felt it, I saw for the first time that there may be another way to live." Her words surprised him. She was not simply curious, she was hungry for something new. Yet Marcus also saw the weight in her eyes. This was not just about joy. It was about rebellion. "You should be careful," Marcus said. "If your people see this as dangerous, they might act against you." Serenia straightened her shoulders. "I am the daughter of the High Council's leader. They will not silence me easily. But even if they try, I would rather live with this new truth than return to silence. Tell me, Marcus Hayes, do humans always fight against the order of things?" "Not always," Marcus said, choosing his words carefully. "But when we see something wrong or when we're trapped, we fight to change it. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. But we never stop trying." Her eyes lit up. "Then perhaps that is why your people are different. You carry fire where others carry stone." They walked together for some time, speaking quietly so no one else could hear. Marcus told her small stories about Earth, how people laughed even in the middle of hardship, how children played games that made no sense but brought joy, how even soldiers in war found ways to smile at the absurdity of life. Serenia listened as if every word was a revelation. But their private moment did not last. One of her attendants appeared suddenly, bowing low but speaking with a sharp edge. "Princess, the council requires your presence. They demand an explanation for your behavior yesterday." Serenia's face remained calm, but Marcus could see the flicker of worry in her eyes. She turned to him and whispered quickly, "Do not leave the station. I will return to you. There is more I must ask, more I must learn." Then she was gone, swept away by her attendants, leaving Marcus standing in the corridor with a heavy heart. He knew she was walking into danger. That evening, rumors spread again, this time louder, more serious. Some claimed the princess had defied her elders in private. Others whispered that she had laughed once more. this time during the council's questioning. Marcus felt a chill. If that was true, then she was already in deeper trouble than either of them had expected. He returned to the garden dome, the place where they had spoken before. He waited there, unsure if she would come, unsure if she even could. The flowers glowed softly in the artificial night, their strange scents filling the air. Hours passed, and still he waited. At last, a shadow moved among the plants. Serena stepped forward, her silver patterns dim in the low light. She looked tired, but her eyes were fierce. "They threatened me," she said quietly. "They said if I continue down this path, I will be removed from the council and cast aside. But Marcus, I do not care. I will not give this up. You have shown me something that cannot be taken away. Teach me more, no matter the risk. I am ready." Marcus looked at her, and in that moment he understood. This was no longer just about a joke or a laugh. This was about a spark that could set fire to an entire civilization, and he was standing at the center of it. The following days on the station grew more tense. Delegates from every species spoke of nothing but the princess and her strange reaction. The sound of her laughter had spread like an echo through the halls of power, retold by every witness until it became more than a moment. It became a question. Could humans truly change the nature of another species? Could something as simple as laughter become dangerous? Marcus kept to himself as much as he could, but he knew eyes followed him everywhere. Guards from Serenya's world passed him in the corridors with stiff shoulders and narrowed gazes. Some whispered threats he could not understand, but their meaning was clear enough. Yet he also noticed something unexpected. A few younger members of her people, servants, attendants, even junior officials, would glance at him with secret interest. Their eyes asked silent questions they dared not speak aloud. It was Serenya who explained it to him when they finally met again in the garden dome. She came at night, slipping away from her attendants with careful steps. Her silver patterns glowed faintly under the artificial lights, her face filled with both excitement and worry. "My people are restless," she told him. "Some of the young speak of the sound I made. They whisper of trying it themselves, though they are afraid. Others call it dangerous, a weakness that will break our order. The council fears what they cannot control." Marcus nodded slowly. "That's what happens when people taste something new. Some embrace it, some reject it. But once the idea is out there, you can't take it back." Serenya's eyes shone. "Then I will not take it back. I will give it freely. My father believes control is survival. But I see now that survival without joy is only another kind of death. If laughter can awaken my people, even if it brings chaos, then I must share it." Her words sent a chill down Marcus's spine.
He admired her courage, but he also knew what it meant.
A single moment had already shaken her world. If she pushed further, the reaction would not stop at whispers. It would grow into conflict. Still, he did not stop her. Instead, he told her more stories. He spoke of comedians on Earth who made entire crowds roar with laughter, of children who could find humor in the simplest mistakes, of soldiers who cracked jokes in the middle of battle because it gave them the strength to keep going. Serena listened like a student, her eyes wide, her lips curving again and again into the beginnings of laughter. The next day, the effects were already visible. Marcus walked through the station's market level and saw something that made him stop in surprise. Two young attendants from Serenya's people stood together, their faces struggling to remain serious but their shoulders shaking as they tried to copy what they had heard about laughter. The sound was awkward, forced, but it was there. Nearby, another of their kind looked horrified and hurried away to report them. Word spread faster now. Some said the humans had poisoned the princess with dangerous thoughts. Others claimed the princess had found a secret strength that even her father could not silence. The human delegation grew nervous. Ambassador Clark warned Marcus again to stay away from her, to stop feeding this spark before it became fire. But Marcus could not. He met Serenya again that night, this time not in the garden but in a quiet observation deck that overlooked the stars. She stood waiting, her face half lit by starlight. "They tried to keep me locked in my quarters today," she whispered. "But I found a way out. They are afraid, Marcus, afraid of what I carry now. I told them it was too late. Even if they silence me, the sound of laughter is already alive among us. They cannot erase it." Marcus felt both pride and fear. "You're playing a dangerous game. They won't let this spread without a fight." Serenya stepped closer, her voice steady. "Then let them fight. My people have lived in silence for too long. If a single human could awaken me with a few words, what will happen when my whole world learns this gift? Perhaps it will divide us. Perhaps it will destroy us. But perhaps It will set us free. For a long moment, neither spoke. The stars shone cold beyond the glass, silent witnesses to the storm building between their worlds. Then Marcus heard movement behind them. Several figures emerged from the shadows, her attendants, but this time armed and grim. Their leader stepped forward, his voice hard. "Princess, this ends tonight. You will return with us and you will forget this human corruption. If you do not, we will ensure the council takes action." Serenia did not flinch. Instead, she laughed. The sound rang through the observation deck, strong and clear. The attendants froze, startled by the unfamiliar sound. It was not weak, not awkward, but full of life. Marcus felt the hairs on his arms rise. "This is not corruption," Serenia said firmly. "This is freedom, and you cannot stop it." For a moment, the attendants hesitated. Some looked away, unsettled, while others gripped their weapons tighter. Marcus stepped to Serenia's side, ready to defend her if it came to that. He knew he was only one man against many, but he would not let them take her without a fight. The leader narrowed his eyes. "Then you have chosen chaos. Do not think the council will forgive this. You have doomed yourself." He turned sharply and led his group away, their footsteps echoing in the metal hall. Serenia exhaled slowly, her eyes still burning with resolve. "They will come for me," she whispered. "Perhaps even for you. But I will not stop now. Whatever happens, Marcus, you must stand with me. Together we can show them the truth." Marcus met her gaze. He knew she was right. The tide had already turned. What had started as a careless joke was becoming a revolution. And there was no going back. The next day, the station felt heavier, as if every wall carried whispers of what had happened. Rumors spread faster than anyone could stop them. Delegates from other species kept their distance from Marcus, glancing at him with wary eyes. Some of them looked curious, but most looked afraid. The story was out now. The princess of a proud, disciplined race had laughed because of a human. Marcus walked through the corridors with his head high, though inside he wondered how much longer he could stay here before everything fell apart. He knew the council would not remain silent after Serenia's open defiance. He also knew her people would not forgive her easily. That night she came again, not to the garden, not to the observation deck, but to the human quarters. The guards tried to stop her, but she brushed past them with royal authority. Marcus was in his room when the door slid open and Serenia stepped inside, her silver patterns glowing softly under the light. "They are planning to silence me," she said without hesitation. "Not only me, but those who have begun to laugh. Already, several of the young who dared to imitate me have been taken away for questioning. Some will be punished. Others may be erased from their positions forever." Marcus stood quickly. "Then we have to act. If they see this as a threat, they'll crush it before it grows." Her eyes met his, full of fire. "That is why I came. I cannot do this alone. But with your help, I believe we can make laughter spread before they can destroy it." Marcus frowned. "I'm a soldier, Serenia. I don't know how to lead a cultural rebellion." She smiled faintly. "You don't need to. You only need to be yourself. That is what makes you dangerous to them. You showed me something no one else dared. You must keep showing it to me, to others. Once it is known, it cannot be undone." Her conviction struck him deeply. He realized she wasn't just asking for lessons in humor anymore. She was asking him to stand beside her against her entire civilization, and though it scared him, he could not turn away. Over the next few days, Serenia found ways to meet secretly with her people. In small groups, hidden corners of the station, she repeated Marcus's stories, retelling them in her own words. At first, her people struggled. They did not understand the twists or the absurdity of human humor. But then, when she laughed herself, they found courage to try. And slowly the sound spread, hesitant at first, then stronger. Marcus once walked past a storage area and heard it. A group of her attendants laughing awkwardly together, trying to copy her. The sound was rough and uneven, but it was real. They stopped when they noticed him, their faces tight with fear. But he gave them a nod, and one of them smiled for the first time he had ever seen. The council, however, was furious. Reports of human corruption filled their meetings. Old voices thundered about tradition, about order, about the danger of uncontrolled emotions. They said laughter weakened discipline and clouded judgment. The princess, they declared, had been infected by human chaos. Some even called for her removal. Still, Serenia did not bend. She spoke in the council chamber with steady words, declaring that joy was not weakness but strength. That laughter did not destroy order, but reminded people why they lived at all. Her voice rang with conviction, and though many of the elders scowled, Marcus could see the spark spreading. Younger members of the council shifted uncomfortably, their eyes betraying curiosity they dared not speak. The tension finally broke one evening in the main concourse of the station. A group of Serenya's people, mostly young attendants, gathered together in defiance of their elders. They laughed openly, loudly, their voices echoing through the hall. Others stopped to stare. Some joined in. Others shouted at them to be silent. The sound grew chaotic and powerful until the council guards marched in to break it apart. Marcus watched from the edge, his heart pounding. He knew this was no longer a private rebellion. It was now public. The sound of laughter had become a spark that could no longer be hidden. Later, in a quiet room, Serenya faced Marcus with a solemn look. "They will come after me soon," she said. "I know it. My father will be forced to act. But it no longer matters. The sound is out there. My people have heard it. Even if they try to silence us, they will remember. And they will not be able to forget." Marcus studied her carefully. She looked exhausted, yet her eyes blazed with determination. He realized she was ready to risk everything, her position, her safety, even her life, for something as simple as joy. "You're braver than anyone I've met," he told her quietly. She shook her head. "No, I am only awake." "You woke me, Marcus Hayes, and now I cannot return to sleep." For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Outside the window, the stars glimmered like 1,000 distant witnesses. Inside, Marcus understood the truth. What had begun as a joke had become more than rebellion. It had become a movement, and soon the whole galaxy would hear it. The council chamber was colder than usual. The tall pillars carved with ancient markings seemed to glare down at everyone who entered. Rows of alien leaders filled the semicircle, their silver eyes sharp and unblinking. At the center, on a raised platform, sat the High Council, elders who had ruled their people for centuries with absolute authority. Marcus stood quietly at the edge, a human among giants, as Serenya was led forward. She walked with dignity, her patterns glowing faintly, her expression calm, though her future was uncertain. The whispers in the chamber grew louder. Words like traitor, corrupted, and unfit floated through the air. Yet Serenya did not lower her head. One of the council elders, his voice deep and commanding, spoke first. "Princess Serenya, daughter of the ruling line, you stand accused of dishonoring our traditions. You have embraced human chaos. You have spread it among our people. Do you deny this?" Serenya's voice was steady. "I do not deny it. I laugh, and I have shown others how to laugh. I have given them joy, something we have been taught to fear but never to understand. I stand guilty of that truth, and I will not hide it." The chamber erupted with angry shouts. Some demanded punishment, others demanded exile. A few younger voices spoke in her defense, but they were quickly silenced by the elders' stares. Marcus clenched his fists. He wanted to step forward, what Serenya had told him before entering. "Do not interfere until the moment truly demands it." So he waited, watching her fight with nothing but words. Another elder leaned forward, his face carved with lines of disapproval. "Joy weakens discipline. Laughter destroys order. Our empire was built on strength, not foolishness. Why should we allow such chaos to live within us?" Serenya's eyes shone with quiet fire. "Because strength without joy is emptiness. Order without hope is only a cage. You speak of discipline, but what use is discipline if the spirit is dead? I have seen humans. They laugh even in hardship. They do not crumble from it, they rise. That is why they are strong. Though they are fewer than us, weaker in body, they survive because they carry joy as a weapon and a shield." The council grew silent for a moment. Her words carried power, though the elders tried to dismiss them. Marcus could see the divide forming. The younger members, seated farther back, shifted uncomfortably, their faces full of thought. The older ones grew harsher, sensing their grip slipping. Finally, the High Elder stood. He towered above all others, his voice filling the chamber like thunder. "Enough. Princess Serenya, you have allowed yourself to be corrupted by this human. Worse, you have infected others. For this crime, the punishment is exile. You will be stripped of your title, removed from succession, and sent away from our worlds. The laughter you speak of will die with you in silence." The word struck like a blade. Gasps filled the chamber. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He could not remain silent anymore. He stepped forward, ignoring the guards who reached for their weapons. His voice cut across the hall. "You're making a mistake," he said firmly. All eyes turned to him. The High Elder glared, his tone sharp. "You dare speak in this chamber, human?" Marcus did not flinch. "Yes, because you're blind. You think laughter is weakness, but you don't see what it really is. My people laugh even when bombs fall. Soldiers laugh before battle. Families laugh even when food runs out. Do you know why? Because it keeps us alive. It tells us we're still human, still fighting, still worth something. Serenia didn't destroy your people. She reminded them what it means to live." The hall shook with murmurs. The guards hesitated, unsure if they should silence him. Serenia's eyes softened as she watched him stand there, defiant against a chamber of giants. The High Elder's face darkened. "Your words are noise. Your species is primitive. We are eternal. We do not need your chaos." But then, from the back of the chamber, a sound broke the tension. A laugh, soft, nervous, but clear. Heads turned in shock. It came from one of the younger council members who quickly tried to cover his mouth. Then another laugh followed, shaky but real. Soon whispers spread and a ripple of laughter, small but unstoppable, moved through the younger delegates. The elders shouted for silence, but the sound kept growing. It was not mockery, not rebellion, but something deeper. A release, a crack in the cold stone of tradition. Marcus felt his heart race. Serenia stepped forward, her voice ringing above the noise. "You cannot stop it. Even here, even now, it spreads. Because joy is not weakness, it is life. You can exile me, but you cannot exile what has already awakened in their hearts." The High Elder's hands trembled with rage. He struck his staff against the floor, demanding order, but the chamber was no longer his. The sound of laughter, raw and imperfect, filled the air. Marcus knew then that no punishment could erase what had begun. Serenia had already won. That night, as the council dissolved into chaos, Serenia was taken under guard. Her fate still hung in the balance. But Marcus felt hope for the first time since stepping into the chamber. The elders could exile her, threaten her, even try to bury her voice, but the sound had escaped. And once laughter escaped, it could never truly be silenced. Serenia was confined to her quarters after the storm in the council chamber. 2 guards stood outside her door at all times, their expressions hard and their orders clear. She was not to leave. She had been stripped of her royal title and name, but her people still whispered of her as the princess who laughed. Her punishment was exile, though the details of where she would be sent had not been decided yet. Inside the room, Serenia sat by the window, her eyes fixed on the stars beyond the station. She did not look defeated. Instead, there was a quiet strength in her posture, as though she carried a secret no prison could take from her. Marcus was not allowed to visit her directly, but that did not stop him. He found his way through service corridors, past security patrols, until he reached the narrow balcony outside her chamber window. When she saw him climbing across the ledge with a grin, she almost laughed despite the weight of her situation. "You are reckless," she said softly, sliding the window open to let him inside. "And you're too calm for someone about to be exiled," he answered, dusting off his hands. "If it were me, I'd be pacing like a trapped wolf." Serenia shook her head. "They can exile me, Marcus. They can even erase my name from history, but they cannot erase the sound that already lives in the hearts of my people. What we began has already spread too far." He studied her carefully. She wasn't speaking bravely just for him, she truly believed it. That faith gave him strength. The next morning, an announcement echoed through the station. The High Elder declared that Serenia would be transported to a distant colony, a place far from her people, where she would live under watch. It was meant to silence her forever. But when the time came, something unexpected happened. Hundreds of her people gathered in the docking bay. Many were young, but some were officials and attendants who had once sworn loyalty to the council. They stood together in silence as Serenia was led out by guards. Then, one by one, they began to laugh. It started small, a nervous ripple of sound, but soon it grew louder, stronger, echoing against the metal walls of the bay. The guards froze, unsure whether to stop it. The elders shouted for order, but the sound drowned them out. The laughter was not mocking, it was defiant, proud, alive. Serenia stopped walking. Her eyes shone with tears, but her smile was unshaken. She turned slowly to face her people, and in that moment Marcus saw her not as a prisoner, but as a leader. The High Elder's voice thundered across the bay. "Silence them. End this madness." But the guards did not move. Some of them were laughing too. The power of command, once absolute, was breaking apart before everyone's eyes. Marcus stepped forward, his voice ringing above the sound. You can take her away, but you can't take this away. You called it chaos, but it's unity. You called it weakness, but it's strength. You've ruled with fear for centuries, but today you've lost to joy. The council members tried to regain control, but it was too late. The sound filled every corner of the bay, unstoppable, uncontainable. Serena lifted her head and laughed too, her voice carrying like a song. Her people answered, and together their laughter became something greater than rebellion. It became a declaration. The High Elder, seeing his authority crumble, gave one last order. "Remove them all," he shouted. But no one moved. His words carried no weight anymore. In that moment, Serena walked forward without chains. The guards who had been ordered to escort her away stepped back, their eyes lowered in respect. She turned to Marcus, and for the first time since he had met her, he saw her not as a princess, not even as a rebel, but as a queen in spirit. "Where do we go from here?" he asked quietly. She looked around at her people, still laughing, still alive with newfound freedom. "We go forward," she said. "One step at a time. They cannot unhear what they have heard. They cannot unfeel what they have felt. From this day on, we are not the same." The crowd slowly settled into silence, but their eyes remained bright. The council members slipped away, defeated, though Marcus knew they would not give up easily. The struggle was not over, but something had changed forever, and no force in the galaxy could undo it. Later, when Serena and Marcus stood together at the observation deck, she spoke softly, almost to herself. "I thought I would lose everything. My name, my family, my place. But I found something greater." Marcus glanced at her. "And what's that?" She smiled gently. "The sound of my people awakening, and a friend who showed me what it means to be alive." Marcus felt warmth in his chest. He had come here as a soldier, a representative of Earth, but he realized he had done something more important than any mission. He had helped spark a change that might reshape an entire civilization. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Serena whispered, "Do you hear it, Marcus? Even now it's still there." He closed his eyes, and in the silence of the cosmos, he imagined the echo of laughter spreading across worlds, carried from one voice to another until it became a chorus the whole galaxy could hear, and he knew she was right. It would never be silenced.